Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kerry Hughes, and today I will be talking about dyspraxia. And the reason why I'm talking about dyspraxia today is because it's something that affects my everyday life, and I've come to realize that it's sort of affecting the way that I film my videos and how I film my videos. And I thought it would be a great way for you to get to know me a bit better too. So, dyspraxia is a developmental coordination disorder. It basically just affects coordination of an individual. It's in the spectrum of the neurodiversity. So dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia and dyspraxia all come under that spectrum, along with many other neurodiverse disorders. The symptoms of dyspraxia vary from person to person, so everyone who has dyspraxia will affect them in different ways. Those who have it will be known more as like the clumsy people because of how it affects them. As the symptoms are that obviously it affects the coordination, but this also includes their spatial awareness is different. Like they might not be able to gauge distances, heights, weights, grip, like the strength. It can affect an individual, their organisation, as they have difficulty with memory and have a hard time planning things out. And this will usually come into the classroom with education for children. So they might have trouble note taking, like copying off the boards and things. Poor listening skills. They're very fidgety, and often they'll be known as daydreamers, as they do wander off into their own world, and this is because their brains are going at like 100 miles an hour. It's hard to sit and stay focused on one thing. Another symptom is that it affects an individual's motor skills, gross motor skills such as getting changed, getting dressed, like fidgeting with the buttons can be difficult, tying shoelaces can be difficult. Then you have the fine motor skills where it's like holding a pencil or a pen, and often those who find it difficult to write, the arms will hurt because they don't realise how hard they're holding onto the pen, and they'll have messy handwriting. They'll have messy handwriting because of the coordination aspect of the hand-eye coordination will be off. See, like I said, the concentration as well, like the memory, like tends to have poor memory and be quite fidgety. And then there's also the communication aspects that it can affect, such as speech, not slurred speech, but what they refer to as immature speech, and they'll muddle up the words a lot. So with me, my experience with dyspraxia, I've had it all my life, and I haven't really taken notice of it properly until recently, because I could see it affecting me more. It's, like I said, especially when it comes to like filming, because for me dyspraxia affects me in the way I talk, my speech, like the wires between my brain and my mouth, they just don't communicate effectively. So whatever I'm trying to say, I tend to have to slow down and think before I say what I want to say to make the most sense. So yeah, it affects my speech and the way I talk mostly, but the other signs are that I was that child who was the daydreamer in school, I could not keep up with taking notes off the board. So my experience with dyspraxia has been lifelong, and it's affected me in many ways, and I wasn't really diagnosed until I was 19, so I'd gone throughout most of my educational life without even realising that I had this disorder, and when I found out, it explained so much of why I'd struggled through school. So I found out I was dyspraxic and also slightly dyslexic when I was 19, in the summer between the end of my first year of college and the beginning of my second year. So when it came to like primary school and high school, I had no help at all. For a while I was with the kids who were more obviously dyslexic, because I found like my symptoms were a bit more hidden because I was the shy kid in the class as well, so I wasn't really open, so teachers couldn't really gauge me that well to see that there was a problem. But I knew I was different because throughout my schooling I had developed coping strategies, because I knew things such as not knowing my left and rights. Like, even when I was 16, 17, still didn't know my left and right. I knew that was a problem. I wasn't really good with sports, and people with dyspraxia tend to not be good at sports because of our hand-eye coordination is just almost non-existent. Like, it varies from individual to individual, but for me, I can't catch, I can't throw properly. So despite loving rounders as a kid growing up, I could never hit the ball with a bat, and I could never catch the ball when it was coming my direction. So there was a lot of negativity in that sense because I was never the good one of the group. So it made me shy away from wanting to play. Same goes for like netball when I went to high school and things. Like, it just wasn't happening for me. Another way dyspraxia affects me is that I can't really gauge distances. However, I do drive, which I'm very fortunate for. And the plus side of having dyspraxia is that it makes me more of a wary driver. Like, I'm a lot more cautious because I know that I can't gauge distances very well. When it comes to learning, it takes me longer than usual to learn something, a new skill, or just learning in general, like in school. It's why I had so much trouble. I actually resat my GCSEs because I failed them the first time, and then by the second time I just about passed them. And this is something that I'd learned kind of early on, that I knew if I was to do something first time I'd fail it. It was always the second or third time that I'd be more likely to accomplish it. So it kind of took the stress off a bit, but not that much because you only tend to have one chance to do an exam. But I resat the whole GCSE year, and then I went on to do my sixth form year. I only did this first year of that because then I decided to change over to college. And this is where I found the educational system to be different, because the course that I did, it wasn't exam based, which was a huge relief. It was assignment based. That way it was a lot easier for me to perform better in my work, because obviously there was no tests to try and remember, and with having a poor memory because of this, like, I feel like I I did much better in college than I did in school, but not only that, it was thanks to college. Even though I was 19 by the time, it was thanks to them that I was actually put in for an assessment and found out that I was dyspraxic and slightly dyslexic too. So for me, it is predominantly my speech that it affects, because I feel like my brain's going 100 miles an hour all the time, that when it comes to me talking, I can either talk too fast or I really have to force myself to slow down and to stop and think of how I'm trying to say something, which you might have noticed the way that I talk on the videos. I'll also might repeat myself because I've just forgot that I said that, so it's like I'm saying the same thing but in a different way. But I always feel like the wires between the brain and the mouth and how I'm supposed to talk, they're always crossed and they don't function properly. Even though in my mind, the way that I want to say something it makes perfect sense, but by the time they come out of my mouth, they just don't sound the same. They don't sound right. Like in my mind, I am the Russell Brand of what I want to say. The way he just comes out with things is something like I'm in awe of, because I can't talk in the same manner as he does. Even though in my mind I do, but physically, like I'm not on the same page. So I just have difficulty in trying to articulate myself properly in general. I struggle with the left and rights. Like I said before, I've learnt to come up with coping strategies as I was growing up. So when it came to learning my left and rights, I only know them because somebody told me I write with my right hand. So when it comes to going places and taking directions, like somebody tells me I need to turn left, I always have to, for me, beating around the bush is how everything makes sense to me, because I have to think to myself that, okay, somebody once told me I write with my right hand, so then I check which hand is my dominant hand and I know it's this one, so this is my right, so therefore left must be this way. So I've come up with these strategies before I was diagnosed because I knew there was something a bit different about me, that it was the only way that I could cope to keep up with everybody else, because I was always kind of left behind, but I was always sort of, yeah, I think that was the best way to say it, like always left behind. Like I was the worst one in sports, and obviously learning, I wasn't. In primary school, I was pretty bright, I was clever, like I enjoyed the maths, but when it came to high school, like everything just, like no. I just wasn't taking anything in. But yeah, like I said, I was the quiet child, so the symptoms weren't as obvious to those around me that there was something different. Like I could kind of read okay. I think I've lost count of how many times I've stopped during this video to try and remember what I'm trying to say. Because when I'm put on the spot like it's just wanting to talk, it it doesn't happen as fluidly as I'd like it to be, and that's another problem. It's a problem that I've had with past videos that I've tried to record, which is why there wasn't a video up last week, as I tried to record a video on how to get ready for goals and things, and just no, it wasn't happening. It just wasn't happening. So when it comes to being put on the spot a bit, I'm like a deer in headlights, trying to think of what I'm trying to say, the appropriate response and how to say it properly. it's like part of that organization, like planning. It doesn't come naturally to me. Well, doesn't come as naturally. It's a bit stunted. But yeah, I will leave links in the description box to websites to help that explain what dyspraxia is a bit better. It'll list all the symptoms and what it can affect. Something I didn't know that it can affect is muscle tone and like weakness, and learning more about it, it's opened my eyes up a bit more and helped me understand myself better, so I'm not as hard on myself. Just a bit more, makes me more accepting of myself as well. And I just thought I would share this with you guys, so if you have friends or family who have dyspraxia, it's just to be a bit more patient with them, because like I said, the severity of someone with dyspraxia can vary greatly. Like I said, I think mine's more predominantly in the way that I speak and how I try to articulate things, but because my balance is okay, I'm not considered clumsy, even though I do have tendency to bang into door frames or wherever, but you know, who doesn't? But I wouldn't say I was that bad, but I am seeing where it does affect me more now that I'm paying a bit more attention and being a bit more mindful of it, and also trying to come up with more coping strategies to help in everyday life. If this was helpful at all, give it a like, you can subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. I'd love to know if any of you suffer with dyspraxia in any aspect, in any way of your life. If you want me to make any more videos or to go into depth with anything when it comes to having dyspraxia, day-to-day life with dyspraxia, and how I drive with dyspraxia. Took me a long time, but I got there and I have not crashed. I have not crashed, not bumped. So yeah, if this was interesting to you at all, then please like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.